Dallas-bound American Airlines flight bursts into flames seconds after making an emergency landing there in Denver. Watch this.
Mayday, 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 mayday. Houston, Charlie 48, engine fire.
Charlie 48, engine fire, copy. And at Charlie 48, fire personnel is responding.
So the flight was from Colorado Springs. It landed in Denver after the crew diverted, reporting, quote, engine vibrations to air traffic control. All 172 passengers on board. They were forced to evacuate via slides even onto the wing as smoke billowed out of the aircraft. You can see, we're going to show you can see right here some of the moments. I mean, look, this is right at Denver's International Airport. People going out on the wing and crews coming to help, thankfully, as you can see smoke around them, rushing in, crews right there to help put out the flames. This morning, the FAA investigating, and the aviation industry is just facing yet another unsettling close call scenario for air travelers. Joining me right now is CNN transportation analyst, former Inspector General for the Department of Transportation, Mary Schiavo. Mary, thank you so much for jumping up so early for us. I mean, the video is, we have seen over and over again, you and I have been talking the last few weeks of terrifying close calls or just absolute disasters that we've been having to report on. I want to play for you the call between the flight crew and air traffic control just before their emergency landing, Mary.
10,006, or 1006, just to verify, not an emergency still, correct?
No, we just have a high engine vibration, so we are cruising slower than normal.
It seems that things progressed and seemed to change really quickly, because it seemed, from what I hear there, untrained, obviously, ear, how do you go from not an emergency to what we looked at upon landing so quickly?
Well, again, you go quickly into that situation depending on what's going on with that engine. Now, this is an engine. There are over 7,000 of them out there, but it's a similar plane and a similar engine. If you recall, in 2018, it had an uncontained engine failure, and a woman was partially sucked out of a Southwest Airlines flight. So if the engine was experiencing vibration, we already know there's something wrong with an engine. This particular engine does have some what's called airworthiness directives on it to inspect the seals, the combustion liners, and some other parts of that engine, the turbine blades. And it's possible that the what was just vibration turned into an engine failure, possibly even an uncontained engine failure. And that's where parts of the engine spew out of the containment housing of the engine, can break oil lines, other parts. It does appear that it was oil that was on fire rather than the fuel, based on the color, and that it was leaking from what appears to be the right engine as you're facing the forward part of the plane. If you were in back of the plane facing forward, it would be the right engine. And so there are a lot of clues here, and that the passengers had to stand on the wing is because they couldn't see the ground, and you can see in pictures there's fire on the ground, so they couldn't descend into a burning tarmac. So while it's dangerous to stand on the wing, particularly if it was a fuel leak rather than an oil leak or some other fluid such as hydraulic fluid, etc., but they couldn't descend into fire and smoke, so they really had no choice but to stand on the wing, kind of a makeshift measure. That's not how you're supposed to evacuate, but it saved them and helped them in this case.
Yeah, the best of bad options is kind of what they probably were presented with, and having to just make those decisions. You know, FAA clearly investigating, and we'll get to the bottom of what happened here. Sounds to me, though, like, thank God for that crew. They felt engine vibrations, and they got to the ground before absolute disaster struck. Mary, thank you so much for jumping on with me this morning.
This flight was actually on the way to Dallas with more than 170 people on board when it was diverted to Denver because of engine vibrations. The fire started after it landed. 12 people went to the hospital with minor injuries. Joining me now to discuss this and everything that's been going on in the skies lately, CNN aviation safety analyst David Susi, who's actually in Denver. David, I have to keep reporting on these each time because it's having this cumulative effect on the public. What do you see about what's going on?
Well, right now in Denver, they're trying to clean up what happened, but the fact that it was diverted, there was something that happened in the air. The vibration could have been caused by a number of factors. However, once it got on the ground, it appears that there was a fuel leak or fuel pour that got out onto the ground and then was struck on fire. So trying to exit this aircraft And the fact that they got exited and out of the aircraft so quickly is really a testament to how well the crew is prepared to get people out of the airplanes. It's very concerning, though, how they had to go out. They couldn't go out through the tarmac door, the regular door. They had to get out through the emergency exits and the slides. And you can see that they actually had to go out onto the wings to then prepare to come down the slides, which means the smoke was in the cabin at the time.
Can I ask, as someone who's an expert in this area, how are you thinking about flying now? I mean, we're seeing these moments where people are surviving, there are rescue efforts that go well, but what are some of the things you're thinking about right now?
Well, that's a really good question, and for me, my perspective is quite different than most. The general public flying and watching these things happen, and they think that, well, it's still going to be the safest place to fly. We're still going to be able to be safe, and it will be. And you can throw statistics at it, but that still doesn't help many people that ask me that question. So what I tell people is that you have to be comfortable with flying. The worst thing you can do is, if you're scared of flying, if you think that all these things are going to cause a problem, just don't fly for a while until you get comfortable with it. That's the only advice I can give to you. But I can still throw statistics at you about the safety of flying and the millions and millions of people that fly and are safe and don't have any kind of difficulty getting on the airplane or have these fires and experiences. When we see this, it's our fear of that happening to us. We have to remember, though, that we've seen now two different events. One, that the aircraft crashed and rolled and no one was injured. There people were injured, but no one died in that airplane that crashed and rolled. This airplane now, we have this fire that happened and no one was hurt in this one as well. So we need to condition ourselves to understand that there are tens of thousands of people trying to make this safe. And when things do happen like this, it's not the end.
Yeah.
What happens is there are people that are ready.
Yes, and obviously in this incident, people were hospitalized, people are getting injured, but to your point, people need to sort of weigh their sense of risk. CNN aviation safety analyst Dave Soucy speaking to us.